everybody. Welcome to Entrepreneurs. I'm John West.
And I'm Bonnie Mace. We are two Enneagram 9s who took the big leap into the world of entrepreneurship at a similar time. And this podcast is a space where we are inviting you to laugh and learn with us as we work to build businesses with soul. This is episode 40.
40. You were about to say it, and I was like, "Oh crap! I forgot to look at what episode it was."
I was looking.
Okay, good.
Now the
good.
camera can tell us.
Well, I was
going
gonna
to
say too. Now, also, it feels kind of funny. I was starting to chuckle because you were reading it. It's like, oh, now we're on camera, and also me like reaching over to like do the mixer stuff. Like, well, I think it's like, oh, now everything is on camera.
You would think I would have that intro memorized by now.
I was also going to mention that. I thought that was kind of funny, but I will say, even 40 episodes in, it's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful because I wrote it.
Yeah.
We all know. We all know that.
That's fair. I won't argue
I'm
with
a
it.
wordy person.
That's fair, Bonnie. That's fair. So we're on camera. That's change number 1 in season number 2 of Entrepreneurs.
I feel like the camera I'm going to make eye contact is that one.
That's okay. That's all right.
And so I feel like I have to lean if I'm going to make.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
Anyway.
That's okay. We're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
It's round number 1. So
every now and then I'll make eye contact with you guys watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're listening, you're going to be like, I don't have any eye contact.
Okay. So can I make a note about this really quickly?
Yeah.
About something that I want us to strive for, Bonnie.
Okay.
As now a video podcast.
Uh-huh.
That I notice in podcasts that I know now are both audio and video.
Okay.
Is that they will have conversations acting like everyone can see what's happening when they can't.
Yeah, we won't forget about the listening people.
Yeah, because that's where it all started, you know? So we can't forget about those people.
Yeah.
But the reason why I say that is because like sometimes they'll be like, yeah, and in this chart, and it's like, I'm listening in my car. I can't see the chart.
Yeah.
Do you mind explaining what the chart says?
Yeah.
You know, and so and they won't. So it's just like some of those things we'll have to remember.
Yeah. And I also recently learned that like, hey, go to the show notes to see the chart. You guys can tell us if this is correct for you.
Yeah.
But I learned that most people don't go to the show notes ever.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't. So.
Yeah. That was part of my internship is we like, it was some research that like Hallie had found and learned that show notes weren't as important as people make it seem.
Yeah.
And then she's like, informal poll, who's ever looked at show notes for podcasts?
Yeah.
And some of us were like, I was one that was like, sometimes, typical 9 fashion. I was like, sometimes.
Sort of.
I look at them when I'm trying to pick.
Yeah.
For me, it is when I'm like trying to try out a new show for the very first time. Like I'll look at the show notes to be like, which episode do I want to start with?
Yeah.
Especially if they have like a deep set of episodes.
I tend to go there for like links. Mm-hmm. Like if they mention something specific that sounds interesting to me, then I'll go for a link.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't spend time reading show notes. So
yeah, I more often actually will look for a transcript.
Yeah.
Because I'm more a visual person. So if there's something that someone says that I want to remember, then I hope it's a podcast with a transcript.
Which finally Apple Podcasts is catching up with the times, and they will have transcripts now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just got an email about that the other day.
Yeah.
So.
Do we have to load it up though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But we can do that. That's easy.
Okay. John says that easy. I was about to say
easy.
We're not there yet.
No, we can do that. That's easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
John says it's easy.
Okay. So, first episode of 2024, we left off 2023 like 3 months ago or whatever it was.
It was. But it was a good decision.
It was a good choice. It was what much needed. And so, but we've had some time to talk about some things we want to do differently and what we want Entrepreneurs to look like going forward. Yeah. And obviously like this is one of those things, which is video
camera,
that we're going to try. And, the other thing is and most people know this, like we started this for fun. Like we started this because we wanted to have an opportunity to collaborate with each other. We had fun podcasting in our previous job. Yeah. And so we wanted to keep doing it. But we decided that we want to be a little bit more intentional about how we go about doing the podcast itself, the information that we're trying to get out, what we're learning and what we're hoping other people will learn. And also just being more intentional with, I guess, being more active and in front of people more times than just every other week, basically, when the podcast comes out. So, but do you want to talk a little bit about, like, I guess maybe why we want to be intentional?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking while you were saying that too, before I get into that, like, oh, look at us go. Cause we were both in our like most 9-ish ways. Like, we're going to talk and no one's going to listen.
Yeah. We've sure did say that.
We're just going to do this to give ourselves a stretch of a challenge to talk, because it's hard for 9s to talk. And we can end up burying ourselves into nothing. So we talked, and then surprise,
people were listening.
like, you guys are listening. Yeah. And so I think it's a growth point for both of us to be like, oh, people are listening. We have something to offer. Yeah. And so if you're wondering, why did it take them 40 episodes to realize people are listening? That's part of it, is just, it's a growing edge for an Enneagram 9. Yeah. But also, even last year was just not the year to do it. Yeah. And I think we both wanted to give more to the podcast here and there, but we both were just aware, like, sometimes there's just timing. Yeah. And the timing was not right in 2023. Yeah. And now it is. Yeah. So here we are. Yeah. And we kind of like half dreamed in 2023. Yep. And then in one of the many snow days where we were trapped at home with our children, we said, John, bring your kids over so you're not all alone in the snow with your kids. And we got to like dream about, okay, how do we want to actually be more intentional? Right. So all of that to say, what was your question? Why? Well, I was going to say what was really good that in your kind of recap there was when we were sitting down to do that, when we were sitting down during that snow day, like one of the things you brought up that I mean, and I understand why I didn't really even process this, but one of the things you brought up was like, yeah, we kind of just wung it. Like, like every time we walked in to record, it's true. It was just kind of like, hey, what are we talking about today? Yeah. And we kind of we wung it, and I think we did pretty well considering we did that. Right. But also like clearly even just the thought, the point that you made that that's what we did, and I hadn't like put the pieces together yet that's what we did. Yeah. Like just goes to show you like what 2023 was like, right? So like I wasn't even aware necessarily that is kind of what we were doing. It's true. We were just kind of just like, here we go. We're like, it's time for another podcast to go out, and I hope you guys still benefited. I mean, I still think we came up with great content. Sure. Yeah. Even on the fly. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. But the point is this year we're looking ahead. Be intentional. Yeah. 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 And we have the margin to do it. Yeah. And we have the belief that you guys are out there actually listening. Yeah. And like you're taking away great things. Yep. And thanks to our Work Like a 9 group too, I think that's been another big part, at least for me, to be like, oh my gosh, there are people out there that are also going through this, and that like we can do this kind of more intentionally together, so we can talk about how that is going to continue to sort of parallel here. Yeah. And I was going to say that I think that's been a big help in helping us understand that there's a future for the podcast beyond winging it. Beyond just John and I being like, what if we talk together so that we don't forget how to speak like grown-ups? Right. Yeah. So that's where we've been. Okay. And now where we're going is just being more intentional. We've always kind of had this direction, laugh and learn with us. Yes, we're still creating businesses with soul. And this season particularly, we'll just go and declare it, season 2, so we're not locked in forever. Yeah, that's it. Is to just better understand what it's like to be a solopreneur or a duopreneur. I don't know if that's a word. I think you made it. It is a word now. I would like royalties every time you guys use it. If you're a duopreneur, 10 cents. 10 cents. Great. Okay. Okay, so we want to understand the solo and duopreneur experience. Yeah. And we want to learn how you guys are making it work and succeeding. And we're going to do that with the Enneagram lens still, because we are speaking as Enneagram 9s, right, but we also recognize that a lot of the principles we talk about and lessons we're learning are just experiences of all people, not specific to a personality type. Right. But plus we do also recognize that most of you who do listen are 9s. And we like to understand people's perspectives. Yeah. And the more we can like show up feeling like I can understand this person's perspective, I know how to serve them. Yeah. For me, the more comfortable I feel. So I wonder if that's true for more of us. So we're going to do that. Interviews are coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we'll continue to do some like deep dives on a type before we do the interview. So we're hoping to hit all the rest of the types we haven't talked about yet in this season. And we also just want to continue to build a network of people who are cheering one another on or working together or sending referrals to each other's companies.
Yeah.
So we're starting that with Work Like a Nine. So if you want to jump in now to that kind of business, then Work Like a Nine's where you go. You can go to entrepreneurs.com. It's $9 a month. Our next meeting will be determined soon, but right now it's supposed to be on President's Day. So my question going out on our Voxer today is going to be, so President's Day,
How about it?
Do you guys want to meet then?
How about that holiday?
How about that? Our last 2 meetings have been federal holidays originally scheduled because usually it's a third Monday of each month. But anyway, so you can join in to have that kind of network of people right now. And we will be brainstorming other ways to involve people in a kind of a network. But none of that is solidified yet. That's still in the early
stages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost said the word brain seed.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
Brain seed.
Brain seed
Stage.
Okay.
Like it hasn't grown or taken. It's just a brain seed.
I can be with you on that.
That's another 10-cent idea.
Okay. Great. So far you're making 20 cents every time somebody says duopreneur or brain seed.
It's true.
And I feel like those could end up in the same conversation. So
it's true. I'm going to be wealthy.
20 cents at a time.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we wanted to, I think, kind of even clarify today too, is just that we had kind of come up with a little bit of like when we were doing interviews more, we had come up with a little bit of a structure for how we wanted to present those and help you all understand as we worked through the numbers, each number a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because I think going back to what you just said, like us wanting to be peacemakers in the world often involves us trying to understand people who are not like us more often than not. And so if we can give you some foundation first before that person comes on to actually explain kind of how they view and address the world through their business, we feel like that would be good. So what we used to do and what we're going to continue to do is like a deep dive first. So it'll be a deep dive episode. And then the next episode will be the interview. But something that we want to add into that kind of structure is then for us to come back after, not within the same episode as the interview, although I'm sure we'll be reacting.
Yeah.
But we want to come back and do like a bit of like a debrief and like what are we learning? How does that help us to, think differently when we're interacting with somebody who could be, a 2 or a 4, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be kind of fun too, just to continue to process some of that for a little bit longer. Because I do think probably when we first did it, it was just kind of like, hey, there's your 7. See you later.
Yeah.
And so now we can kind of, understand the differences, but also understand the similarities and what helps us continue to be that peacemaker.
And I think like integrate some of our tactics too.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of times that we just like get stuck in our own line of thinking and our own fears and our own desires that then somebody else comes along with a different personality perspective.
For sure.
Even if they're in the same field or a totally different field or whatever, but they introduce some way that they handle things and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I never thought about doing it that way ever.
Yeah.
So I look forward to that too.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this here before too. I'm a learner by watching. I am not a learner by, let me see if I crash my bike going over this ramp, just like you crashed your bike going over this ramp. Surely I'll do it differently. No,
right.
I'm gonna watch other people do it for a bit and be like, okay, that was a dumb idea. Don't do that.
Don't crash your bike over the ramp.
Yeah. So this is kind of my jam of learning.
Yeah.
Particularly too.
Yeah. It was interesting to talk. Actually, Lauren and I were talking about like learning styles, and like I feel like podcasts are always something I enjoy, right? Because I mean, my favorite podcast outside of ours, of course, is How I Built This, which is like all about building businesses, and you hear everybody's mistakes and wins and lessons, and it's just like, oh, I mean, I walk away from those feeling so much better, because I can hear you know, even for like a big brand, right?
Yeah.
Which is what they are.
Yeah.
Even for a big brand, like this is what they had to go through in order to get to here. And so you know, hopefully through some of these interviews, you know, you can hear some of those stories that help you to understand where you're at, number one, and maybe where you want to go. But then also that like, you're not alone in any of this. And I think, again, you know, not to keep plugging at Work Like a Nine, but Work Like a Nine has been great.
Yeah.
I think for us to understand, number one, like we're learning from the people in the group. Also for us to understand, even at maybe like early stage, quote unquote, business, that we've learned enough to even have a position of at times mentorship for other people, or even just friendship and suggesting, you know, certain things. So it's been kind of nice to see that, because we have people in the group who are early stage, and we have people who have been doing what they're doing for a long time. And so to see kind of like, we can still have influence. What we're learning can still have influence with someone who's been doing it for a while. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're learning from them. And then people who have not even been doing it as long as us, like, we can learn from them too. So
I like that.
Yeah. Hopefully we can continue that. And if it's something that you're looking for, that kind of encouragement or that kind of community, then Work Like a Nine is really, that's what it's becoming. And I would say we had some intention for Work Like a Nine when we started it. Like that was probably our most intentional thing we did last year.
Yeah.
By
for
far.
Sure, for sure.
But even that, I think there's still more that's coming from that and it's growing and changing. So
Yeah, for sure. Like, you know, just pushing it again to get more of you guys there. It was fun. One of our members was like, are you happy? Like right now it's a small group. And so that's another thing. If you're intimidated by the idea of an online like co-working group, because you think you'll just be another square on the screen or whatever. Right now, particularly, it is not that. Like we are a close-knit, like tight group of people who are still getting to know each other, but everybody gets a chance to chime in right now. And so especially for Type 9, like you get to actually exercise this theory, like, does my voice matter? And I will say that you will probably be affirmed that it does in the group setting right now. And, you know, honestly, I never want to see, we're going to split off groups when we get too big, because John and I don't want people to feel lost in the crowd or, you know, another square. And so it's really fun for that. But right now is a great time to jump in, just because we are like so close, and people are bringing up issues that they want to address specifically. And what's cool about that is then it kind of gives John and I a kick in the pants to go and like intentionally learn something else that maybe we should also be intentionally learning for our business too. But because it's brought up and it's for somebody else, you know, it's always easier to do something on the behalf of someone else. In my perspective anyway. So as soon as somebody's like, you know what, social media is driving me crazy, I'm like, you know what, me too. Let's talk about that. Let's figure out how we can better approach that as business owners, because and I was gonna say, so just by way of example of that, like we just had our last one was all about social media, and we sat down for a while and just like kind of sketched out some of the things that we struggled with, and did some research on some ways that we could encourage people and encourage ourselves, you know, in just getting better at it, you know, getting better at social media. But that's I think the big part of the podcast. I guess we can go into, like, we talked about doing type deep dives, interviews, reflection. Oh my goodness, guys. Stuff we love and struggle is real. It's not going anywhere.
No. It's like, if it's probably the one thing that, like, even if no one else enjoys it, like that's just our thing.
That's our thing.
Yeah. We enjoy it.
It will not go away.
No. You know what we could do now too?
What?
We could bring props.
So true.
That would be amazing.
And we can explain
And then we can explain the props to our friends who are listening.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
That'd be awesome. Is there anything else?
We're going to do some personal reflections, and we were doing this sort of sporadically. But we're going to make an intention to be more of like quarterly, reflecting on, okay, what was my big takeaway this quarter? You know, like, did I achieve any of the goals or intentions I had? what's changed when I did set those intentions.
Yep.
And so we'll be more reflective about some of that stuff just to share where we've been. I personally love that because I think reflection is an important skill to build.
Yeah.
Especially as a person running a business, so you don't lose your mind.
Yeah.
But just in general, it's not a reflex everybody has. So
right.
Maybe I'll write a few questions on those episodes.
Nice.
This is me putting that out. So you kind of just remember later.
Okay. Yeah. A little accountability.
Yeah.
Public accountability.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah. Help other people reflect in their quarters too. So we'll do that. And we're gonna plug some things we're doing. Yeah. But it says self-promotion on my notebook.
These are our notes, yeah.
Because John and I have to remind ourselves to actually sell what we're selling.
Yeah, I mean,
I need that more than you, I think.
Yeah, usually. But I would say, something that I think has come from a lot of this discussion, even the social media discussion we were having as we did some research there, is just that, it's okay to have a platform and it's okay to use that platform to connect authentically, but still have an intention that authenticity and that relationship that you're building could lead to something else. And I think that's the important part about it is like, we never want to point this, I don't think we want to point this podcast nor our businesses in the direction of creating relationship that's inauthentic or that is just directed at earning business.
Yeah, like exploitive.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah. Right. Or just promotion all the time. Right. Like that is never it was never the heart of this, nor will it become the heart of it. And so I think to have the recognition that we have our own businesses, we have something to offer, and that there may be people who watch or listen who could benefit from that. And so it's not to push anything, but it is to say, we want to develop a relationship, especially if there's somebody who we feel like could benefit from something that we do have to offer. And if you don't, then we're trusting that the other information that we're offering here is good enough.
Yeah.
Like it is enough for you to feel value is coming your way. So, and I think some of that too is just a reality of the kind of like economic culture we live in too, which is like diversification of your income and everything. Like,
I mean, that was a big talk when we were talking about, it seems like maybe we should take this more seriously.
Yeah.
That's a thought of just to have some more diversified income for John and I.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing, if I can get philosophical.
Yeah, of course. That's what we do.
Yeah,
like,
it is true. Especially last week, I spent a lot of time watching this conference.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically around like church hurt and abuse and spiritual abuse. And one, it was very heavy.
Yeah.
But the point is, like, skeezy people are going to step up and ask you to pay them and make lots of fake promises just in order to get ahead and promote themselves.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, they will do that, and they will try to get stuff out of you all the time. And I think those of us who are not in that mindset, we're the ones that get tripped up with like self-promotion. Like, I don't want you to ask me to pay you. But like, in reality, who do I actually want to pay for services? It's somebody that I know is not in it just for my money.
Right.
Who is fulfilling their purpose or is bringing goodness into the world and is trying to be a whole person as they bring what they can bring into the world. So I know that's what I want.
Right.
And so it reminds me like, oh, if we don't actually like step up, and this is for all of you out there with a business. If we don't actually step up and as a person who's working towards building a business with soul and being a human being who is a whole human being and not trying to like fill this hole with the business that we make by taking people's money and, relying on the reassurance or whatever that like, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
If we don't step up in that hole, then like it's going to get filled.
Yeah.
We're going to keep paying sociopathic billionaires who want to go to space for no reason, like that's who's going to step up. And so that's just a piece for me that helps me think like, okay, it's good for me to take up space. It's good for me to build this business. It's good for me to try to ask someone to pay me for my skills, because I'm not asking them to pay me for my skills so that I can drain their bank account and fill mine.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because I would like to do this.
Yeah.
Also, I need to eat food.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
To continue doing this.
Yeah.
Right.
To survive. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's that like tricky.
I think it is a good, as you're saying
feeling.
that though, it's a, I think what I'm seeing or viewing this kind of season it as is a opportunity for us to accept that it's okay to act on the things that we actually think about. So like what I mean by that is basically is we're giving ourselves permission to
have a brain seed, if you will.
Have a brain seed. Yeah. Well, and act on the brain seed and like water the brain seed and cultivate the brain seed. How much money do I owe you now?
I don't know. We're getting close to $1.
Okay. All right.
Keep going.
So no, but like we have ideas, right? Like, and maybe they're not even voiced to each other, all of them, but like we have ideas about this, right? Like about how to grow this and how to do different things that we feel like bring value to people. And the reality is that I feel like sometimes, and maybe this is true for people out there too, like you have an idea, but you don't act on it because you're afraid that it will make you seem like one of those people who is just out for the money, when really you feel like there's value there and it would be good for people to have. And so I think we're giving ourselves permission in this season to act on some things that we feel like would bring value, that we feel like would grow the influence, not of just what we're saying, but what other people who we can bring here or bring to Work Like a Nine, what they can say, and that's okay. That's okay to have,
good.
And that's good. Yeah, it's okay. It's good, and it's okay to act on those things and still feel like we're doing it authentically. So that's kind of what I hear too.
I am pretty much incapable of doing things inauthentically. And I think there are some people in my life that might be like, really though? And I would say yes. And if you don't know that about me, it's because I am not brave enough to talk to you about it. Anyway. Yeah. So maybe that resonates for other points.
Yeah. That's good.
But
that's good.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's just something to remember of like, I think there's always this fear of like, you're eventually going to become the sociopath obsessed with the bottom line.
Yeah.
And like, probably not.
Yeah.
You know, like
if you weren't already bent that way, probably not.
Yeah. Like it's going to take something weird.
Yeah.
To get you there.
But okay.
We need good people in the world doing good things.
Yeah. And offering good value to people. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, well, there's 2024.
Ta-da.
Or season 2.
Season 2.
I was going to say however long season 2 lasts.
Yeah. First one was 39 episodes.
It sure was.
But we're being more intentional about our planning now. So we can be more intentional about that.
So, we mentioned a lot of things.
So many.
Lots of things. Yeah. Which really probably are only like 2 links in show notes that nobody's going to read. But if you want to see them,
they're going to be there.
That's where they're going to be.
Because even the one person who does go to the show notes, you're important too.
Yeah. So show notes is where you can find some links, especially to things like Work Like a Nine, our websites. And if you needed a link to the episode, it's there. Also, Work Like a Nine next meeting as of right now is
President's
the
Day.
3rd Monday of February, which is President's Day. But just message us if you have questions about it. Like, you can always get in touch with us.
Yeah. There's a contact form on the website.
Yeah.
You can use.
That'd be awesome.
Comes straight to both of us, I think.
Yes.
Or straight to me.
Okay.
And if I can't reply, then I'll tell John too.
Yeah.
So.
Bonnie can do it. Yeah. It's fine. But yeah, we're excited. I think we're excited for season 2 and all of the different things it's going to bring. So,
yeah. And just being able to be more intentional, about all of us. Because I will say, like, when it was just for fun and just for us, like we would shelve this.
Yeah.
And so we kind of both came around to this, just like, no, we're not going to shelve you guys. We're we're going to make this a legit thing that we don't feel like we should shelve because.
Yeah. Intentional.
Yeah. Intentionality.
All right. Well, Bonnie, that was fun. We're back.
Yeah. And we're on camera.
I guess we're going to have a YouTube channel at this point too.
We have to make a YouTube channel.
It's coming.
It's true. And that will be in the show notes as well. Yay.
Great. Hey, while you're at it, leave us a rating and review so other people can find us. And we'd love to hear, honestly, just what you have to say, what you think, and what you think of the direction, what you're feeling for this next season, whether that's 2024 or beyond, of your own business life. So,
and you can do that by leaving us a voicemail on our Spotify podcasters page. It used to be Anchor.
It's much easier to say.
It
now
is Spotify podcasters.
For podcasters.
Spotify for podcasters. There will be a link, so it's not that complicated for you to find.
Yeah.
But you can do that there or like via Instagram.
Yep.
We're on the Instagram DMs a lot of times.
Yep.
Or our contact form. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us on our social medias, and that's it. That's all we say at the end.
That's it.
We still haven't scripted the end.
Nope.
It might just
Never.
be our quirk.
Yep. Never have we ever.
We're just going to lean into the rough landings.
We'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
2 weeks.